Camera, action. You look like you have a headache. You okay? Not doing it, right? You better get one of these. They're better. They're more healthy. Okay, quote number 10 is up on the board. Youth is the gift of nature, but age is a work of art. And as I already told two people in here, I'm the example of a work of art. Because I'm old. And here goes, same story. Repeat. You guys are all old people too. Think about it. You got nieces, nephews, siblings, whatever. You would be old. And you're the work of art where they're the youth. All right. As I said, I will be gone Wednesday for sure. I have surgery tomorrow morning, and make sure Kelsey will be doing the class on Wednesday, and Kelly on Friday, if I'm not here on Friday. And they'll have the next quote. So probably after my recovery, somewhere the following week, you'll now be turning in your quotes for those nice free points. And technically, none of the assignments have been very hard either. There's no excuse to not at least have a B in here. You have to earn your way down the scale by not doing your assignments. And that reminds me of another thing. Some of you haven't. And always remember this. Some points are better than no points. Until you get to that point of no return, more I won't accept it. So, okay, we're still dwelling in chapter 4, and I want to go. Last time we visited, I had you look at the little map in the Spanish borderlands on page 45. And how the influence of the southern area mixes in. And partly, it mixed in a lot faster than what historians would think, looking into, because there were so many people in the Great Migration from Europe that the East Coast and the original 13 colonies were just busting at the seams. And as I said the time before, and if you missed it, about every 25 years, the population in America was doubling. So just think of that mathematically. If you started with, 10,000 people in all the colonies. Of course, there was much more than that, but where are you going to put all those people, and how are they going to manage the areas that they're in, and the weather and the climate, and the Native Americans, and all the wild beasts. Anyway, if you haven't done so, make sure, and this map is dated 1770, in the influence, so you know what was, it was in the middle of something going on. What year did we gain our independence? Say it real loud, somebody. 1770 what? 6. July 4th. The official date. A lot of things happen a little after and a whole bunch before to get to that point. And I'd like to talk a little bit about on page 46, 47, and 48. The impact of European ideas on American culture. Just want to re-mention a couple things. And if you want to look into the book, you're welcome to do so. Some of this I would probably write down. let's start out by asking anyone in this class right now, what would be an impact from a European country that might affect our new American culture? I think also maybe this would help. When you are becoming a progressive nation and growing, no matter what stage of development, there's always something that will allow you to grow as a country and as individuals. And the hint goes way back to the first day of class when I talked about 3 things that are vital to our survival. You know one of them? No. 3 A's are important. Biblically, it's in the history of the biblical all the way through. Word of mouth. Okay, what's the other one? Took a little while, but I see someone on camera guessing. Writing, and then the passing on of what? Okay, well, that's part of the verbal. How am I dressed today? I represent something or someone. Your culture. Passing on traditions. So written word, word of mouth, language. If you want real short word, and then culture. Okay, those are impacts that of European would pass on. They already had not, and they probably knew it. People that came to America brought those with them. So we get a melting and a blending of cultures and different people. And I heavily emphasized that last time we met. Remember I talked about the different parts of Europe coming and what they had to offer, like up north, down south, in Europe now. The English influence, the Scottish influence, the German, the French, so etc. So now, what you need to do now is what specific things with that background in your text. It makes note of some specific things that happen. And since you're sitting so close to me, don't be afraid if it's right or wrong, or that it might be wrong. What?
The Enlightenment.
Okay, now, since you said the Enlightenment, and it's there in your textbook, what is it?
It is altered the way that educated Europeans through God, nature, and society.
Okay. That's right out of the textbook. I don't know if you heard that. She read the Enlightenment altered the way that educated Europeans thought about God, nature, and society. And you take an account, a lot of times Enlightenment, the age of Enlightenment, is also called the age of reasoning. And I have a couple of students in here that are taking the world thought class, and the people that we talked about so far, tried to pass on that age of reasoning from their time and their perspective as apologists. And guess what? It ended up in Europe over many, 1,000 years plus. We're in the 1770s since BC and AD, all that. Okay. Now, notice the book says there's 3 areas. Altered the way of educated Europeans thought about God, religion, nature, the natural phenomena of what's around you out there in society. The colonists welcomed change at first. When do you think they did not? What started making, as we go through this big, massive migration of people, economical changes, the way we make living, uh, even the first start of factories, sort of to speak. I don't like using that word, but that would mean something to you. But you know how things were made. What other economical thing made for exchanging things? What's the word exchanging mean? He has something that I want. He's a country, I'm a country. So we're going to exchange. We're going to trade. And this just took off. As you saw in another lecture, you didn't miss it, you know, the navigational acts and to control it, because our dear, and we're predominantly British, with those other countries blended in, they wanted a piece of the pie. And the navigation acts and other things, you know, paying tariffs and taxes. So there you go. When does, you don't need a date, but this is the era of enlightenment through economics. What changes? What changed? Did they take away the tariffs or did they add more? Did the British mother country demand more? How did they do that? You should know that. They sent people to represent the mother. Lord Baltimore. Not all of them were born right here. There's a big one right on top of page 47. William Byrd II. He was actually sent and to run the Virginia colony since it had such a bad reputation at first. It was an example of a rich person from Europe coming and trying to, you know, do things for the mother country. And but as generations, you know, I'll say about, let's just go with every 10, 15 years, you know, just with time involving things changed, colonists changed. And then this is where I want to call it the birth of clashing of political ideas happens. You know, again, that's later on page 49, the political clashes. And just before that, we have another major movement, and Nancy's going to tell us what that was. Page 48, Nancy. Big blue letters, and then the green one at the bottom.
Survival of the
Yes, I just got a gift. Everybody see that on camera? Thank you. Whoa. Feed the soul. Feel better.
I know it's tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm okay. By midnight tonight, I can't drink anything but water. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. Okay, notice that the Great Awakening is part of the three things we mentioned. Belief in God. You know, remember that? Short-term memory. Audrey, what were they? God and then nature and society. God, nature, and society. And, you know, those are the areas that we go after to change and to grow and to become better. Now, I got to put a little political in there for what's happening to you now in the world. Don't let this happen. They're taking God out of everything. God out of our schools. Some places of work do not let you sit and visit about those ideas. Way back in my early days, when I started teaching in 1971, even then you could not sit in public schools and just talk about American history, or you could mention certain things, but you could not dwell in it about God and about what that meant. why we seek to be good and love thy neighbor. Uh-uh. You could mention, and without getting in trouble now, I'm talking about way back, you can mention things like that and be okay as long as you're not trying, because they'll accuse you right away of trying to convert people and try to brainwash them. And that's, before I answer or get you your question, that's what's happening in a lot of public colleges now. Some of the ideas that are being taught that are far left, far right, very super conservative, very super liberal. Me personally, and I'm just a speck in the sand, is taking kind of something in the middle and let you blend them together and come up with your own idea. But I got to expose you. And I happen to be teaching at a Christian college right now, and you guys are involved in it, and it's so nice, so nice for me. Okay, Liz has a question. Whoa, you're old. I don't know if you're hearing that. Before she keeps going, she says back when she was in high school, they were allowed to have clubs that could talk about Christianity and God, but they wasn't taught in the classroom, but outside of it, like Glee Club, whatever. Anyway, continue on. What high school, by the way? Jamaican. Okay, I'm going to say it might still be happening. And notice that it was your free time. It might have been before school, after school, lunchtime. I'm not sure about this. Some schools, I can remember some in Oregon, that would have a designated period. It was, what do we call that? It was like an extra half hour, of free time. You could go see a teacher. Teacher just had to be in their classroom in case you wanted to come in and ask a question about assignment. It was almost like a study hall, but it was part of the schedule. And actually, it wasn't a half hour. I think it was about 20 minutes. But anyway, so the question again is, is that still allowed? But I want you to notice it was on your time, not the school's time. If you chose to grab your lunch and go to a meeting, or even brought your own lunch, see, you're on your own time. You're not on the school time. That's probably how they got away with it. And if they do it today, I don't know. I really don't know if they have those clubs. I'll ask my grandson if he's seen or heard anything he doesn't go to Richland, he goes to Hanford. So, anybody else know? Yes?
Right now, I'm a part of the organization, Rocky kind of mentioned it earlier, FCA, and we have Bible studies during lunchtime for all the kids, and during the teachers and stuff, and as long as it's not a teacher or faculty meeting,
Okay.
we meet and we
And what school was that?
there's over 15 schools in the country.
Okay. There's kind of our answer. She said there was over 15 different schools doing this. So, but I'm really going to join the protest movement when they take the American flag out of classrooms. Right. Yeah, she was mentioning the Pledge of Allegiance. Has it been banned, from public schools. It pretty much has. And it's because of the word in there, one nation under God. How dare we mention God? One nation under Allah. One nation under Buddha.
One of the things that really awoke when my parents first brought me to the U.S. I remember that I didn't understand not a single word in English, so we repeated the Pledge of Allegiance so much in the morning
You learn.
that like I learned to really understand.
So how old were you when you came to America?
I was
6.
six.
So first, second grade, somewhere in there. And by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, you were able to conquer the English language a little quicker. You have to put your hand on your heart? We did too. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. All the Spanish words.
The one in Mexico, I don't remember it. But it was really different coming here. It was a full different feeling. And I remember like I was feeling like really respect
Right.
for the country and how
Right. And this is the kind of stuff going back, into establishing our freedom from the British mother country of individual rights and liberties. And that's why the Constitution is worded like it is. And there's separation of church and state, but there's still church and state. Because if you read the Constitution really carefully and slowly, it's not that long, it talks about all the aspects of personal freedoms, the right to bear arms, the da-da-da-da. Then you can add the amendments to that. And now you made me, I want to say the Code of Ethics because I'm thinking world history. The Bill of Rights. And see, sorry about that. I'm not supposed to forget things like that. But you can see the blending and how it builds a nation to stay a nation that may last quite long. Because to be honest, our last class, World Thought class, we talked about how long the Byzantine or the Greek or the Roman Empire lasted, hundreds of years, let's say, to round it off. But they eventually fall. And people like Aristotle, those people were warning them that, unless you do certain things and have certain rules, regulations, freedoms, if you don't have those things based on God, then it's going to go away. The Emperor of Rome cannot be the God. He can be the ruler, the president, the czar, but he cannot be the God. And that's what they were warning everybody. That's why I see hope in America if we don't take God out of the picture all the way. There's limitations, I know. But as my point to you, your younger generation, don't let that happen. Stand up for what we've come through. Even like Liz, who was not born in America, but came to America, became a citizen, naturalized, or not yet? You're still going? It's a long process and it's slow. I have the pleasure of knowing Maureen McGilligan from Morrow County. She personally helped in her career of 20. She was at our school for 25 years of her 32 years, and she helped 47 Hispanic people become U.S. citizens, and even drove them to Portland, Oregon, where they had to do the thing and the pledge and all that stuff. I was so proud of her, you know, and she just did it out of kindness, and she's a good old girl now, but Catholic girl that has principles, love for her neighbors. So if you get that opportunity, lecture-wise, but it has to do with history and things. So anyway, there's a couple things else that I'd like that we're going to talk about, or actually Kelsey's going to talk about on Wednesday, I hope. She's supposed to be here Wednesday, and then Kelly on Friday if I can't make it. And then I'll have those in the notes for her to mention, to put on the video camera, and you know you'll have another quote or two if I'm not. And remember, keep that all in mind. All right, I know that's kind of a weird ending, but I'd like to stop there because I want them to review these political culture and clashes that lead to little revolts all over the 13 original colonies. And each colony revolted in a different way, but they always had those three things. What were they again, Audrey? God, louder. Nature and society. I was just trying to see if you guys could pick. I know you can hear my voice because I got it on my shirt, but I want you to be aware of that because on Friday we're going to be. Someone will be, hopefully me. We'll be talking about all the wars that go on, and these wars were caused from things happening in New America. It wasn't the big Revolutionary War yet, but you know, like the King Williams and the wars that were going on in Europe were affecting what things were like in America because of the migration, and the migration never stopped. It just kept coming. I want you to be aware of that. And meanwhile, be reading your chapter and taking notes like you're supposed to, not waiting till the last minute. And there's some of you that are way ahead of schedule sometimes. But keep that in mind. And I also want you to, on page 51, there's a nice little map. And on page 53, another one. As expansion occurs in the migration, and there's a term for expansion. When you go overseas to expand, it's called something else. You find out for me. And when you're expanding within your own country, it's called something else. Okay, Liz, you got one of those. Or can you want to do both? What is it called? You don't have to say right now. For the class on Wednesday. And I'll put that in the notes that please ask Liz. When countries try to go outside their boundaries to expand, it's called something. When countries try to expand within their country and take over lands that are already there, it's called something. Got it? All right. We are done. I have some assignments to hand back. The video is done, let's put it that way. You people on Videoland, make sure you look at the posts on Populi, and I'm going to have Kelsey and Kelly also post stuff. So, all right, thank you.